Call to order the May 4, 2009 meeting of the East Ascension Gravity Drainage District. Roll call, Madam Secretary. Be it known that Adrian Thompson not here, and Benny Johnson. I believe they're both working. I would like for everybody to please stand for the invocation and remain standing for the Pledge of Allegiance. In the Father, Son, Holy Spirit. Dear Lord, we want to thank you for this day. Thank you for this great land that we're raised in and we're allowed to live in. Thank you for the prosperity that we're allowed as citizens of the United States. Today, Lord, we want to pray for the Velor family for their loss of their son, Drew Velor. We ask this in the name of your Son, Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. I want to let everybody know that we have public comment period. Anybody wishing to speak, please fill out a form with the secretary and name the item that you're on, and you will be given 3 minutes. On the chairman's report, I don't have a lot to report tonight. We have a lot of stuff on the agenda, and one of the things that I want everybody to know that we've been a lot of work for a while to gather the capital improvement projects and try to narrow all the money down and narrow the projects down. And tonight we'll have a presentation by the administration and Director Bill Rue. And I would like to go right now straight into the drainage reports. Mr. Rue.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, members of the commission, what I'd like to do is pass on the reports. You have some of the work orders that is handed out to you to show you the completed work orders in your district. And tomorrow I will be sending each one of you a status report of all other projects. Normally what we give verbally, I'll send it to you tomorrow so you have that at hand. The reason for that is that the reports on the project status and the financial report's going to take a good while, so that's the reason for passing on this item.
Thank you, sir. Real quick, in my haste, I passed on item number 4. The floor would open for motion to accept the minutes of the April 6, 2009 meeting.
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
Second.
Moved by Mr. Todd Lambert, second by Mr. Pat Bell. Any opposition? Motion passes. On item number 6, I do have a speaker. I was just handed a card. Mr. Doug Hillensbeck.
Is the overhead projector working? See, don't start my time yet because it's not working. Do we have it going now? There we go. Here tonight to address the issue of the Muddy Creek Bridge in particular. I know that's under the capital outlay studies. And I hope that after tonight's meeting, maybe something's going to be done that's going to be finally put to rest. There's 168 homes back there, well over 400 people that get cut off, have no fire, no rescue, no ambulance, what have you, when the bridge goes under. And sometimes it goes under for 4 or 5 days at a time. But I'd like to point out this issue was first studied in 1984 by Prescott Follett Engineering Firm. Then it was later studied by Glenn Shaheen and Associates, GSA. Then it was studied by Brown, Cunningham, and Ganoush, also known as BCG. Then it was studied again during the last term by Camp Dresser McGee, CDM. And most recently, I understand now it's been studied again by Volkert and Associates. Now, I may have left some out because I only kind of started following this stuff the last few years. But it's time to stop studying and spend the people's money, not on studies, but on projects. Now, I was cut off at the last meeting. I'll put this little slide up. $10 million has been lost due to decisions made by the Drainage Board. One, the creation of the Drainage Commission. The bond interest cost, which we passed a bond issue 2 years ago, and we've yet to do the first project. I know no one in their right mind goes out and borrows the money and then starts planning on how they're going to spend it and build their house. But also the excessive bond cost, issuance cost of the 2007 bond issue for a total of over $10 million. And I asked today Ms. Gwen LeBlanc, Chief Financial Officer, if I was correct in my numbers, and she just told me, Doug, you were real close. Real close. I just want to point that out to the public, how our dollars are being wasted. And, you know, 5 studies that I know of on one project alone, that's ridiculous. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Hillenbeck, and I believe we're going to try not to study it anymore. All right. Mr. Rue, did you'd passed on the major channels, or did you?
We're going to pass on all the reports.
Okay. Well, I think on the capital improvement program,
That'll be included in
we're
our
going to
presentation.
include that in another item. What we have a issue in front of us in item number 7 to rescind the resolution that we had in backing the Punch Train Levy District on the Bayou Man Shack. And working with the state government and a couple board members and Mr. Rue, and working with the PLD, everybody got together and we're able to work that out and let that bill go on through and make it a scenic waterway. So I would entertain a motion.
So move.
Yeah.
Second.
A motion by Mr. Lewis, second by Mr. Shake Snyder. Any discussion?
Yes. Mr.
Go ahead,
Chairman.
Mr.
Chairman,
Valentine.
I'd like Mr. Rue to explain that for the citizens that
Sure.
that may be watching on why we reversed our decision on that.
Yes, sir. We did meet at the Capitol 2 days in a row with Representative Foyle from Baton Rouge, who is introducing the legislation. We met with our delegation from Ascension Parish and also from Iberville Parish. We had representatives of Punch Train Levy District, Iberville Parish, and Ascension Parish involved with the negotiations, and it was finally determined they added an amendment to the legislation specifically pertaining to the project on Manshack and Spanish Lake, that basically they shall permit it. In other words, it's not going to be included in the permitting process like everything else. So we can proceed with that, those projects whenever it becomes agreed to by all the parishes.
Right. And that was the main concern of this Drainage Commission, naturally, was the fact that we would be subjected to
Yeah.
rigid
Yes.
permit situations, and
Although-
that
yeah,
has
yes.
been cleared up. And
Yes,
that's
sir.
a great move.
Although we all members of a drainage commission, and our due diligence is to remove water from people's homes and make sure it doesn't get in there, that we're all members of a district and we all like the swamps and we like everything else. So no, there was no personal issues, I don't think. I think it came to us from the Punch Train Levy District. They had a concern. Integral with us as our members, our delegation from Ascension that are members of that, and everybody, just wanted to get together and try to get in front of that to make sure that we weren't hindered. And I think that it's basically they were able to work it out with a few words. And I want to thank the people from the parish that came forward that felt strongly about the scenic waterways. We appreciate your voice. All right, let's we got a motion on the floor. Any opposition? Motion carries. We'll move on to drainage, capital, financial plan, and budget recommendations you have in front of you here today. I guess it's a culmination of a lot of work and trying to nail some budgets down on the major improvement capital plan, and also securing our operation plans throughout the future. So, Mr. Root, you're going to give us an overview of this?
The parish president would like to make a few comments.
All right.
Get started, please.
I just want to thank everybody that was involved in this, Mr. Rue, Ms. LeBlanc, and Mr. Grant, myself. We sat down and worked on this a few times. What you see before you is what we think is realistic. We think the numbers are real. We think that you have 7 projects in this group that's going to be funded 100%. I think you'll have some happy people when you do adopt this. Now, we're not asking you, I mean, you can adopt it if you'd like tonight, but if you think you need time and want to answer some other questions, we certainly can. You know, I think it's a win-win for Ascension Parish, and I think Mr. Hillenbeck will be happy once we see this Henderson Bayou Bridge in here. I know some of the people, I mean Henderson Bayou, I mean Muddy Creek Bridge, but the Henderson Bayou people should be happy. We think we've got the best bang for the buck amongst the, you know, for the people of Ascension Parish. You know, and I think it's workable. I think you're going to see we also put $5 million in a reserve fund for the, you know, an event that we need to operate basically like we do with parish government. It gives you about a 3-month window to do so. So I think that's very, very important. We had heard earlier where the fund balance would be 0 at 2014. I think you'll see now we'll have close to $10 million in there. And one of the main objectives of this plan is to utilize the funds that we do have in the bond money in a wise manner. And also, if you look at the majority of the money is going to be spent in 2011, 2012. If we do get in the coastal zone, we can utilize that money for a match, and hopefully that can happen. So there's a lot of thought process that went through this, and why are we doing what we're doing. But again, I want to commemorate everyone. I mean, I want to congratulate everyone that was involved in this. I think it's a good plan, a doable plan, and a realistic plan.
Also, before you get started on the capital projects, that some of the budgets that you see that are requested within this spreadsheet, I want everybody to know that there's some integral thoughts that go into that. And one of the things being coming down the line from the Pontchartrain Levee District and the Corps of Engineers is the West Shore project. That'll integrate, I think, 4 or 5 parishes from St. Charles, St. John, St. James, Ascension on up. That we feel like is one of the projects that is coming from the feds and coming from the PLD, is that'll significantly help Ascension Parish. Just reiterate to everybody that within the last 4 major storms we had, they had tidal surges projected that nobody in South Louisiana has or has on the books to build that would protect us from the tidal surges projected. And that the hard work of everybody together is really trying to get some major stuff for Ascension Parish and our neighboring parishes. Some of our canals connect. Go ahead, Mr. Rue.
Okay, we're going to get started with the presentation. And again, in your packet, you can follow along. We also have a spreadsheet for the capital improvement projects. And again, you can follow along through that. What we're actually doing is breaking down this spreadsheet into individual components to explain exactly what we plan on doing, what we are recommending. Okay, this is the capital improvement program. These are the projects that we're recommending. The ones in yellow, it's already been committed to or completed. Starting with Henderson Bayou watershed improvements, that's the pump station. Marvinboro pumping station addition, additional pump. Law Ridge levee, existing levee restoration, and that's already been started by personnel, Ascension EA drainage personnel. Muddy Creek Road Bridge elevation, we're going to talk about that in a few minutes. Marvinboro pumping station enclosure, that's already been contracted, and then we'll hopefully get started on that shortly. Spanish Lake Basin improvements, Law Ridge levee extension to Lake Velar, Bayou Conway, Panama Canal Basin projects, equalizing structure under LA 22. LHU hydrologic study of East Ascension survey benchmark program, and basically that's the projects we're looking at right now for inclusion. Right now, I'll give you a little breakdown of the funding CIP program needs. Total funding needs is $160,643,000. Total funds available, $74,418,000. And this $74 million comes from $65 million in bonds and of a operations revenue fund balance after the next 4 years of about $9 million. And this is something that's there that it's your discretion if how it can be used, but it is a fund balance that can be used either for capital projects or other in-house needs. Starting at Henderson Bayou watershed improvements, the scope of the project. Construct a pumping station and flood control structure at Henderson Bayou at Lake Velor. Pumping capacity 1,000 CFS. Flood protection elevation 14 feet. Total estimated cost $31,200,000. We have a budgeted funding 100%. And I work with that. It's ready to go to the next step. Timeline and percent complete per year. 2008 we were 7% complete. 2009 12%. After 2010 29%. After 2011 89%, and completing the project 2012. This is our timeline and the percentages of completion per year. In your packet, you'll have a breakdown of a conceptual drawing of the pumping station at Henderson Bayou, and also you'll see on the next page in your packet is a approximate location of the pumping station on Henderson Bayou. And again, most of these are prioritized in order. Marvin Brook Pumping Station Capacity Project. Scope of the project: addition of 1,000 CFS pump, addition of extra bay for future pump, addition of crew quarters. Total estimated cost $15,245,500. Budgeted funding 100%. Timeline by 2009, end of this year, hopefully 13% complete. 33% at the end of 2010, 63% end of 2011, 100% complete end of 2012. Again, in your packet is some conceptual drawings of the pumping station and the enclosure of just that portion of it. Law Ridge Levee existing, restoration and upgrade. Scope of the project: widen the base, stabilize the slopes, elevate levee to 14 feet. Total estimated cost $3,761,000. Budgeted funding 100%. Budgeted funding complete per year. End of this year, hopefully, we'll be 46% complete. End of 2010, 100% complete. And again, the construction of that has already began. And if you look at the picture on the next page, it shows some of the effort going into clearing and grubbing of Law Ridge Levee. We're about 45% complete with the grubbing and clearing of the levee, which is the first phase of the project. Muddy Creek Road and bridge elevation. We contracted with Volker to do a study of that basin, complete basin. And from the results that we received from that study, we have determined that the best fit project for the solution to the problems there is to raise Muddy Creek Road and bridge. Again, the purpose is to provide access during floods, elevate the bridge, elevate the road approaches at the bridge. Total estimated cost $5,250,000. Budgeted funding 100%. And again, end of this year, 10%, end of 2010, 33%, 2011, complete with that project. That is our recommendation for the solutions to the problems instead of a floodgate or pumping system at that location.
And the bridge will have another span in it. They'll actually span the bridge out.
It'll open up the capacity under the bridge at least 33%. So
Okay.
It's a much larger bridge than what's there right now.
Thank you, sir.
The Marvin Borough Pumping Station enclosure. Scope is to construct a metal building enclosure to the pumping station. Total cost $1.9 million. We already bid it out. The low bid is $1.67 million. We have 100% funding for the project. Notice to proceed will be this week. And timeline is 56% complete at the end of this year, and we'll complete early 2010. Should be total project completed. In your packet, you'll see a drawing of the design of the closure of that pumping station for your reference. Spanish Lake Basin improvements. Scope of the project, cost share with the Punch Drain Levee District for improvements to the drainage basin. Punch Drain Levee District currently contracting Shaw Group for a flood protection project that would benefit 3 parish areas utilizing this basin. Total estimated cost undetermined until the completion of the study. We have budgeted $1.5 million for future cost share, and we're expecting to expend that money, at least the $1.5 million over the next, and actually this is actually $500,000 more than 2010, 2011. So, but it is $1.5 million budgeted for that project.
And you had said that
And that's a cost share.
yeah, but
That's
when
just a cost share for if we get to the point where they're ready to proceed, and if each parish needs to put up a little bit, we have some budgeted funds.
yeah, and the estimated time of completion of that study
The
is?
study will be completed at the end of the summer, probably around September of this year.
So by the third quarter of this year, we should be seeing the results of that study and what their recommendations
So
are.
recommendations and some budget estimates.
Okay.
Law Ridge Levee Extension to Lake Velar. We expanded this project to include, as we figured, the administration figures, if we're going to do a project, we could do a complete project. So we want to include this complete project into our capital improvement program. The main reason so we can go after additional funds from either federal government or stimulus money, or if we get into the coastal restoration, the coastal area, we have something in our plan looking for funds for a capital improvement project that has been determined to be a need to us. The scope of the project provided levee protection from the backwater flooding Amite River, levee extension from existing Law Ridge levee to Lake Velar, actually tied into our Henderson Bayou protection system. Flood protection at 14 feet, total estimated cost $80 million, and this is just totally a projected or at least estimated budget number to put in there. It's a really expensive project. So we estimating around $80 million project if you go tied into Henderson Bayou flood
Yeah,
protection.
and I just want to brief everybody on the fact that in the past that I think that EAD had CDM do some of the engineering up early on that, and it was to the tune of somewhere around $250,000 was involved in that. They took it to a point, we requested assistance from the Punch Drain Levee District, and they took it to fund it 100%. And it is now, I think the proposal that they have that's taking it to the 100% is about $300,000, somewhere around there. And I think that they have 150 days to complete that study, so we should be seeing something from them in about 5 months. So, thank you.
And again, the timeline is, and percent complete per year, we don't have that, of course, it's determined by the funding that we're able to get to proceed with the project, and the information we get from Punch Drain Levee District's project that they're doing with several engineering firms. Bayou Conway Panama Canal Basin projects. Scope is drainage improvements to the entire basin. The improvements to be determined by joint funding of analysis by Punch Drain Levee District and EA Drainage District. Total estimated cost is at least $20 million once we get to the point of determining exactly what needs, but we feel fairly sure that it's going to be at least in the $20 million range to do either dredging operations or additional levees or protection of that basin, possibly even area retention ponds or basins.
Yeah, and I want to point out that project that we're going to be asking on another agenda item to match 50% matching funds with Punch Drain Levee District, that we have the PLD and the Corps of Engineers have the West Shore project that's coming along, that once these studies are done, we'll possibly integrate into that and become part of that project.
Yes, sir. So again, we did budget. Right now, the budgeting is at 2% of that total cost, which is only $302,000 $575, which is the 50/50 cost share with Lake Pontchartrain. And again, is another agenda item is okay in that cooperative endeavor agreement. And again, we're hoping to get 50% of the analysis done in 2009 and then completed in 2010. This is a new project. We saw where we had some money in there, and we don't want to put, we want to do a complete project, and this goes along with our Law Rich Levy project, which is the equalizing structure on LA 22. They complement each other. And you have in your packet, the next page, you have the location of that structure, or approximate location of that structure. Right now, there's only covers there, I think. It really needs to be a very large structure so you get backwater flooding up against the Law Rich Levee. It can go through to the other side and on out into the divergent canal that way. It actually becomes trapped in there, and it causes unequal elevation on each side of LA 22, which causes a problem in the Highway 431 and Gold Place Road areas because it stacks up there with a higher elevation and across 22. So we recommend that this be added to the project. The total cost is approximately $1.5 million, and the budget funding 100%. We have enough money in our our program to pay 100% of that project. Hopefully, we can begin it and have 50% complete in 2010 and complete the entire project by 2011. These are some things in addition to just show you the projects that we intend to put or we recommend for in our capital improvement program. We also want to give a complete accounting of what was spent from the bond money and money that is officially in our capital improvement program. We had 3 such entries in 2008, expenditures that was paid. U.S. Corps of Engineers Benchmark Program, LSU Hydrologic Study and Drainage Plan, and URS Corporation Engineering as a review agent. U.S. Corps of Engineers Benchmark Program, a surveyed benchmarks placed throughout the parish. Cost shared between DPW Planning, Drainage Department, and U.S. Corps, the Army Corps of Engineers. Total cost of drainage was $100,000, and that is completed project. Next item is the LSU Hydrologic Study and Drainage Plan Review.
Let him go, and then we can come back and laugh.
Yeah. And this has to do with the LSU, contracting with LSU graduate engineering students, who is under the supervision of their professor. And their task was to review the past drainage plans, review past and current hydrologic and hydraulic drainage models, formulate comprehensive hydrologic and hydraulic model of the EA drainage district for submission to the U.S. Corps of Engineers and FEMA for flood maps review. And we encumbered $176,000. The full contract was $176,940. $133,276 expended from the CIP funds. The remainder is from operational funds. It's an ongoing project, not complete, but the remainder is going to be spent from operational funds as the invoices come in. Status is about 70% complete, and the final report is due in September. The main, I guess, task or push that we trying to get from this this project is to have some ammunition we can go to FEMA and Corps of Engineers on getting our firm maps adjusted to actual elevations. As you know, we had the elevations prior to Katrina when we reviewed the firm maps that were not in the flood zone. The new farm maps came out, and a lot of people were placed in flood zones. We're hoping to use some of this data, almost all of the data, to prove to them that they were incorrect, and to really get most of the maps redrawn within the parish, which will be a benefit to almost all the residents in the parish. So that's the main push with this project. And the last thing on the expenditures from CIP funds is back at this time in 2008, actually URS was a review agent for the parish and the drainage district, and we did expend total compensation of $5,265 from the project funds to pay URS. So again, this is just an accounting of what was spent. Okay, give you a little recap of everything. The total funds available, $65,438,990. Expenditures per year, I'm not going to go down it. You can see what we expect to spend out of that, all our capital projects, which totals to $61,774,000. Will give us an ending fund balance at the end of the next few years, by 2011, 2012. Expected fund balance of $664,373. That's what we expect to have remaining in our capital improvement bond proceeds. And again, we want to keep it there because depending on how these projects go, you never know exactly if it's going to have a cost overrun or they find things in it that we need to add. So again, we recommend that this money stay as is until most of the projects are complete. Then we can determine if there's another project that they need to be put on. Okay, the total program funding requirements. If you add everything up, we really need $160,643,000 to do all our recommended projects in the capital improvement program. Total available funds, $65,438,000, will give us a shortfall of $95,204,000. $95,204,000. So again, these are funds that we will be going after for federal and other federal funding and other means to fill in the gap from what we, the available funds we have to complete all the projects. And that's the main information I have for us, our capital improvement plan. Mr. Grant will take over now and talk about the East Central Drainage Operation Multi-Year Financial Plan.
Yes. Just real quick, Mr. Rue.
Yes,
I'm sure that they're going to have a lot, decent amount of questions since it's the first time that everybody's seen this. I would ask of the commissioners to let Mr. Grant go over to operating, then we can come back and we can call whoever we need to back up to the podium to answer questions.
Most of the administrators involved in
Randy.
determining these projects and costs, so we'll be glad to answer your questions after everything goes through.
Good evening. What I'd like to talk to you about is the planning assumptions we use to create the operations plan for the next 5 years. A couple of things are critical to your understanding of this. One is that we try to be conservative in our estimates of revenue going forward in the coming years. So what you'll see on your spreadsheet, which I encourage you to follow as I go through the various years, is that we've set a revenue at 3% of growth, which we think is pretty reasonable based on the previous 5 to 10 years. Actually, revenue currently is growing a bit faster than that, but we think that that's fairly reasonable. We also set the operations at a 5.6% growth per year, because what I estimate will occur here is once we have these capital projects in place, there's now O&M and other responsibilities, plus you may increase obligations in relation to other drainage things that you might want to do. So they're fairly reasonable estimates in relation to growth, but fully expect that this will be adjusted as the reality occurs. What you'll be looking at first here is the fund balance for 09, which is unaudited at this point. We believe it to be $15.9 million starting in 09, but it's currently under audit, and you'll know that about the end of the month or sometime in June. But if you take the 09 figures of a $15 million fund balance, and another total revenues that will appear this year, $15 million, you're now operating with $31 million for the 09 year. We basically have said our expenditures will be about $15.1 million. And here's where you see that $5 million the president talked about. We're trying to set a reserve aside that will stay in place for emergencies or any other projects that you might want to do. So basically, at the end of 09, you would end up with an $11.3 million balance. In 2010, if you carry that $11 million fund balance forward and add another $15 million, which is a 3% increase over your existing revenue, in both ad valorem and sales tax, and that makes the total available funds at 27 million. And your expenditures at that 5.56% of growth is about 15.6 million. You end up with a fund balance of 11.5 at the end of 10. In 11, carrying the fund balance again forward at 11.5, with another 3% increase in potential revenues at 16.3, you end up at a total available funds of 27.8, with total expenditures of 16.3, and an ending fund balance of 11.5. And on to 2012, excuse me, you'll end up with a fund balance of 11.5, revenues of 16.7, total available funds of 28, total expenditures of about 17, and then again, your fund balance is pretty much a constant now, it's 11.2. 2013, carrying all of those dollars forward, you have about available funds of $28 million. In 2013, expenditures of about 17.8, and now your fund balance is about 10.7. And out to 2014, again, that 10.7 carried forward, a $28 million available fund, total expenditures of 18.6, and a fund balance of about 9.8. As Mr. Root told you when we first started, we were looking at a $9 million fund balance as we got out into those odd years. Now, I don't think that's particularly aggressive, but it is a guess. It is our best guess based on previous history of your funds and how the program has worked over succeeding years. We are hopeful that it does better than that. And that you're able to do more. But at this point, I think that is a fairly reasonable estimate. It is the same, quite honestly, it's the same estimates that we use for the operating budget of the parish, that we use a 3% growth factor. And both of us are here and available to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you, sir. Right now,
Can I just add one thing? If
Yes,
you look at
please.
the capital fund, and you see that interest, $10,000, as compared to the previous year, we're going to try and work on that also. We think we know we can do a lot better than that. We just want to make sure that we do it in the right way, in the right manner. So again, that's very, very conservative, but we are hoping that we can get with our financial advisor and bond attorney and make some changes there to, I mean, anything's better than 10,000, but that's kind of the road we headed on right now. So
yeah, what we got, Mr. President, is short-lived. We got about 3 years that we got some money that
yeah,
we
we
can
have
make
a
money
window.
on.
We need to make money. That's exactly right.
And,
So we will be aggressively pursuing that within the next week or
I
two.
think within the last 2 years, it's been conservative. In the last quarter of last year, wouldn't have done you any good to move your money anywhere except in a can in the backyard. But now it's starting to get a little bit better.
Correct. And I also want to recognize Mr. Jesse Bartley here with the Punch Train Levy District, who's a member, and want to publicly thank that body for endorsing a lot of these programs and the capital improvements. We pay enough to them that I think they're going to give us some back, but they've been very, very willing and very, very cooperative in all this. So Jesse, I want to thank you publicly.
Randy.
Thank you, sir, Mr. Bartley. Thank you, Mr. President. Right now, the floor would like to open to the commissioners for any comments. Mr. Sheikh Snyder.
Yes, thank you, Randy. I appreciate all the input. I mean, it's obvious that a lot of work is going on in getting the budget and everything organized, so I really appreciate that. Bill, can you explain, I know they had something about the benchmark program, and if you really don't know anything about it, it would be a bit confusing. Can you explain why, the scope of that, and why it's important to the people?
The main, well, it's a survey to really more than anything else, but it actually went into the parish and put numerous benchmarks throughout the parish, so we can get an accurate determination of the elevations when surveyors are doing elevation checks and permits and of homes and slabs and things like this. So, and also we use it in our projects for determining elevations of future projects like dredging the canals and things like this. But it benchmarks is actually I guess a concrete structure that is a bronze marker put on it with the elevation. It's all checked and recorded, and surveyors use this to set their instruments when they go to set elevations.
Yeah.
I'd like to just expound on that. Is that post-Katrina, there's a lot of benchmarks that were used for years
And
throughout the southern coastal parishes that after hurricanes Katrina and Rita, they were obsolete.
yeah.
In the city of New Orleans, I know some of the projects that we've worked that they actually had one good benchmark out on the lakefront, and they basically had to troll out from that benchmark and come in to find elevations. That these benchmarks are so very important that we believe that when as good as the federal government is and Corps of Engineers and everybody, and they have our best interest at heart in trying to help us, that they take a lot of information in, and one small piece of information that's bad within a foot difference in a topographical nature makes a lot of people either pay or not pay flood insurance, or makes people either have to build their house a foot higher or fill their land up or something. Or get flooded. Final result. So it's very important to have that, and I hope that we come out with some concrete information. Yes, sir, Mr. President.
And also, you know, if you went on some of those that had nails on bridges and things like that were setting the marks, and basically a lot of those things sink, and your readings are not accurate. And at some point, if you give somebody a certificate to build and that elevation shot is not correct, you ultimately are responsible for those benchmarks. So it's good to update it. I don't think the benchmarks here were updated since 1970s, and also helps you with tracking systems, GPS, and those type things, if you put the satellite stations in there.
Kind of like that nail I put on my oak tree in 1983, huh? That tree's grown since then.
That's it.
Yes, sir, Mr. Valentine.
Thank you, Chairman. Mr. Grant, excellent presentation. It appears that parish presidents and yourself and Mr. Rue and the Finance Department have worked out an exceptional plan. $5 million going in for reserves is definitely conservative and meets my approval, if anything. I appreciate that. It really looks good, and hopefully we can stick to the plan. I do want to address something, Mr. Rue, if we could, and that is, first I'd like to commend the administration for the funding of Spanish Lake. But with that discussion, we do seem to have a problem that we need to rectify if we can. I was summoned today by several residents of Ridge Road who was concerned, Parish President, with the amount of water that was coming into the basin because of the rains, the floods. If you look at that structure, and I'm certainly not an engineer, but if you look at that structure, it's made to hold water back. It's made to allow water to go out, to close it when water gets out on the other side. One thing I'm really concerned about is the flow of the water coming back into Alligator Bayou will start eroding on the outside because it's not made for that. And so that's one thing structurally we need to see. What I would like to see, if I could request of you, Parish President, Mr. Rue, is the contact of Parish President Urso. And if we can come to some resolution, as you've heard the chairman talk about the fact that the report should be finished sometime at the end of the summer, I would like to see a resolution where the locks could be back in place like it was before. We can compromise certainly and lower the level to 4.5 feet to give the landowners in Iberville some compromise for water levels. If any of you councilmen read the article Sunday, I think it was a very good article. Miss Amy wrote the article. She pointed out in the article, in both sides of the article. I think she did a good job at it, and it has a lot to do with mitigation banks, and that's what the business in Iberville is. But we also have a commitment to our constituents in Ascension Parish and our residents in Ascension Parish to make sure that that we're on top of this situation. Mr. Bonifay has done an excellent job in his business back there. He also has mitigation bank, but he also serves another purpose with education, which is certainly important to everybody. And I think we need to try and get to some kind of compromise with Mr. Urso so that we can maintain a level at least through the end of the summer, so that when the study comes out, we can proceed from that. So I would request of you, Mr. Parish President, Mr. Rue, if we could at least request that and see if we can work a compromise out. I think it would benefit everybody. I think it would show that we're interested in our parish, and we're certainly interested in their interest too. So I appreciate that. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
I think what he's asking for is just a temporary restraining order, maybe with a little bit of,
Don't say that, John. I might print that.
I didn't say that. That's right. But I will come with a
joking, John.
resolution if we have to.
That would be good.
Just basically, we feel like you're the best representative here to go talk to Mr. Urso and then just see if you can work something out. I think that's what you're asking for, Mr. Valentine.
Yes, that is. I certainly don't want to put this. I don't want to second guess the parish president. I'm gonna let him work that out. But you know, commissioners, you've read the article. You know the problem we got, and for us to come with a resolution, you know, telling him, ask him to do something, I'd rather him try to work it out first.
I will do my best.
All right, sir.
All I can tell you, if it's in Mr. Uso's head, it's not on his lower portion.
I understand.
Okay.
So anyway, back to the capital plan, that we think that we got something for Spanish Lake, and you're right, it does take a little
Yes.
time to get anything underway, and it's definitely not nothing that we can move on until we feel like that study's been complete.
Right.
We don't want to abort any of the efforts by all the folks in the Pontchartrain Levy District and everybody else. And it's a three-parish issue.
Right,
at
and that is
time.
the important thing about it. The Corps of Engineers and the Pontchartrain Levy Board and the Ascension Parish and
Yeah.
Iberville are all still involved in trying to work something out. But I think this would be a good compromise if he would allow us to do that.
East Baton Rouge is also involved.
Yes, he's Baton Rouge, correct. Thank you, Parish President.
Any other questions? Anybody else about
One,
that?
Mr.
Mr.
Chairman.
Dempsey Lambert, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I would like to thank everyone involved with this also. Well, fellas, it's time now to take this next step. I would like to make that motion that we adopt this capital financial plan. We have time to work on, I mean, there's been a lot of stuff added. I think it's time now to put this, you know, to work. So I'm going to leave it out as a motion to accept this this hard work that everyone's put into.
Second.
We have a motion on the floor by Mr. Dempsey Lambert to accept the capital plan as is, and a second by Mr. Dennis Cullen. Any discussion? Any opposition? Motion passes.
Good work.
I would like to just briefly close on that, is that there was a lot of work done. A lot of work done by all the board members, everybody that's looking within their districts. And we feel like we've got the dollars nailed down. I feel like going forward, that with this outline, we can do some good for the people of Ascension Parish and spend their money wisely. And I want to thank the people that threw the financials together, and I want to thank the independent groups, the engineering groups, the Pontchartrain Levy District, and all the folks that have worked hard to work with us. Thank you. Let's see, find my agenda. All right. We'll move on to item number 9, cooperative endeavor agreement between the Pontchartrain Levy District and East Ascension Gravity Drainage District for the Conway and Panama Canal Basin analysis. Let's see, I'm going to read it when I find it.
Yes, sir, I can, if you want me to, I can go through it, Mr. Chairman.
Go through it, Bill.
Yes, sir.
I found mine.
Yes, this is the cooperative endeavor agreement between Lake Pontchartrain Levee District and Eastern Gravity Drainage District for analysis of Bayou Conway and Panama Canal basins. This is will be done led by GSA, but participated by Burke Computer, I think. And our total, it was a 50-50 cost share. Our portion is $302,575.10. And we ask that you approve and authorize the parish president to execute the cooperative endeavor agreement between Lake Pontchartrain and East Ascension Drainage District for the Bayou Conway and Panama Canal Basin analysis, not to exceed $302,575.10.
So moved.
The chair would enter a motion. We have a motion by Mr. Shake Snyder, second by Mr. Bell. Any discussion? Yes, Mr. Todd Lambert.
Yeah, Mr. Rue, I think Mr. Chairman asked you earlier about the West Shore, that this project and model that we are paying for this study will be incoherent with the project of the West Shore?
It's going to be included in their analysis.
Okay.
For us,
So we're not just doing a study and we're going to be putting it on the shelf because the funding's not there to do it for 10 years, 15 years down the road.
I think if we want a little bit of discussion, I'd like to offer up Mr. Picard with
and Mr. Lambert.
and Mr. Lambert that both represent. They're gonna team up on this project through the Pontchartrain Levee District. We also, if anybody's worried about the cost, we have Mr. Bartley here, that his financial board has reviewed the cost and reviewed the study and the proposal. Either one of y'all can speak
And Jake,
on
the big question is making sure that this study is needed for the West Shore project that's coming up, you know.
So what we did, we teamed up, GSA teamed up with BKI for this effort. We also are teamed up on the West Shore project as well, and so we have all the data that we're going to need to tie any improvements that we propose for the Bayou Conway Panama project will also be tied into the West Shore. The Pontchartrain Levee District is also going to be able to seek any federal funding that will be associated with this. So we plan on tying it all together.
Good. That was my question.
The West Shore project does require that an interior drainage study be performed as part of its project, and this study will be that item, and it will be eligible for local match as part of PLD's funding source, and it'll meet the core criteria.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Picard. Mr.
And the Corps selected the engineers, not the parish.
Yeah. Anything else,
No,
Mr.
that's
Lambert?
fine. That
You
was
good?
it.
Not the Corps, the levee board, I'm sorry.
The levee board. Any other discussion? Any opposition? Motion passes. We'll move on to item number 10, authorization to pay the additional fees, CDM NRCS East Bank Waterway Debris Removal Project.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, the CDM, NRCS federal contract for this type of work just allows certain amount of percentage payment for their services by the monitor or professional engineering working with us. If you see the handout from CDM, they break it down exactly the estimate of cost to do the different services, one of which is permitting, which is not included or would not be paid by the federal grant. That's totally separate. So everything else was itemized out so you can see exactly what we are asking for. And we are asking for authorization to amend the contract between East Ascension Drainage District and CDM for professional services associated with waterway storm debris removal as per attached proposal titled East Bank Waterway Debris Removal Project dated April 2nd, 2009, not to exceed $17,141.
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
Well, we had a motion by Mr. Pat Bell, second by Mr. Todd Lambert. Discussion? I have discussion.
What are the costs of the project itself?
That's what I'm...
I have Mr. Heath here with CDM that can answer some of the questions. We don't have the paperwork in front of us.
Oh, 740,000?
Yeah, you got
Yes.
Is that correct,
Total
Bill?
project.
740,000?
I think in that neighborhood.
Okay.
We can give you a full accounting. I can send something
They're gonna allow-
tomorrow to you.
Yeah, they're gonna allow us to hire,
Yes, we're gonna contract
Yeah,
ourselves.
contract.
We're still trying to get the contract, I guess the compensation package put together and get it signed by NRCS. We hopefully can have that done within the next week or two.
It
So
is-
Once we get that, then we can go for bids and we can really proceed with this thing.
okay, and what's the time? Is it gonna be there? Can we get most of it done before hurricane?
I have no idea because I can't commit to that because it has to go through bids and it has to go through the permit process, and then we have to mobilize. So it might be several months at least before we even get able to get out there and a contractor able to get out there and start work.
So we will be in hurricane
Can they-
season
Yep.
again.
Can they make sure that they start on the lower end so we can get that
Oh,
cleared?
absolutely, that's
Okay.
what it is. And in areas where they can reach it from the land, they can
Okay.
go remove those first while they're starting at the bottom coming up.
Okay.
Just a quick comment. I guess Mr. Rue to use that term. I've been beating Mr. Rue up pretty good on this about. I don't know who put the B in bureaucracy on this thing, but let's get it rolling, man. We got to clear New River out and some of the lower end. We're looking at 8 months, and we appreciate CDMs, any input, anything that any of you guys, administration, whoever, get this thing rolling. Once we get past this hurdle, from what I understand, is that we go out and contract and we get it done.
Absolutely.
And that we control the situation then. And the only input we have that back towards NRCS is back to application for payments at that point. Thank you, sir. Any other discussion? Any opposition? Motion passes. Move on to item number 11. Operational plan for Alligator Bayou floodgate structure. Mr. Roof.
Yes, sir. We received the resolution from Iberville Parish concerning the floodgates at Alligator Bayou, and I won't read in your packet is the resolution. We have no opposition to the resolution, with one exception, and that is setting a elevation in Spanish Lake for which we will not exceed when high water comes into from Bayou Manchac, i.e. right now we set it at a 5 elevation. When it gets to a 5 elevation, we shut the gates and don't allow any more water from Bayou Manchac. What we wish to do is issue a resolution, which we don't have tonight, but issue a resolution stating that one exception is that we dictate in there the highest elevation in Spanish Lake. Everything else we do agree with in the resolution. So what we're asking for you to do is allow us to add that one stipulation and then go forward with our own motion accepting the resolution.
All right.
Question.
Yes, sir. Mr. Valentine.
Repeat what you said, Bill. What do you want to add to it?
And the only thing that's not in here is a specific elevation in Alligator Bayou, which we will not allow to be exceeded by water coming from Bayou Manchac. Right now, we would like to set that elevation at a 5, elevation 5, which means when water's coming in from Bayou Manchac, when the elevation in Alligator Bayou reaches a 5
Right,
foot,
okay.
we close the gates and do not allow any more water from Bayou Manchac to enter the basin.
And this is some of the discussion you and I had today. And of course, it's not open for discussion. We'll wait and see what we do first.
I guess I would like for somebody we're voting to adopt the resolution received from Iberville Parish. Or not.
What we're asking for is authorization to proceed with a resolution, write a resolution adding that one stipulation about the elevation in Alligator Bayou. If everybody agrees, yes, that's what we should do, but then we will write a resolution with that one stipulation added and come back to the board for your passage of the resolution.
And you'll come back with the resolution at next month's meeting or a special meeting if needed.
That's right.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes, sir.
I don't think that we are prepared to vote on this. Maybe some of us are, but I'm certainly not. I do not like the resolution stating open position at all times. I think I made my statement a while ago where it's very important not only that we take care of our constituents, but we address the needs of Iberville Parish also. It's been like this for many years, and I would like to give the parish president a little time to see if he can't strike a compromise with parish president Urso. And so with that, I would like to suggest that we pass on this agenda item.
This is mostly for informational, more than anything else tonight, to show you the resolution, make you aware that we did receive a resolution from Iberville, and the fact that the administration is okay with everything in the resolution, with the exception of one thing, which is the maximum elevation in Spanish Lake. It's for informational purposes tonight to show you what
So
we
there's
have.
no vote needed, since you don't have a resolution in front of you. I guess what the chair would like to see is that you did produce the information from Iberville, and we know where they stand. And based on what's been discussed tonight, I think the chair right now would entertain a motion to give the administration the authority to negotiate a resolution with Iberville Parish and come back to us next month. Is
that would be fine
that
with
work
me.
for you, Mr. Valentine?
That works for me. Yeah.
Y'all have a particular
Number?
I think I expressed that earlier, Mr. Parish President.
Did you say 4?
I think I would say 4.5 feet. So that would allow the operation of Mr. Bonifay to continue. And the educational process is back there. I see no reason to shut him down and put him out of business. It's been like this for many years. And you know, just to up and open the gates, I will say that it was down to at least 2.5 feet this past weekend. The things were shut down back there completely. It is only back up to 4.5, even with this rain we had today. So I would suggest that's what we work toward.
So you want to set me that? I just want to make sure everybody's on the same page here.
I would like,
you know, basically what the recommendation or the request of this drainage board is to meet with President Uso, see if we can set a benchmark that once it reaches 4.5, we would shut the gates and not allow it to drain any further.
That's correct.
And I just want to make sure that everybody.
That's what we'd like for him at least to give us 6 months on that, so we can work on this plan, so we can get the study back. And if he would work with us with that, we certainly would be appreciative. We don't have to take any other action. I think you've already done what you felt was right at the time. But you know, after seeing a lot more studies and some different opinions, I'm not sure if that was the right situation. That's my opinion, though. So let's see if we can't work this out. Okay.
All right, we have a motion on the floor
Can you please clarify that motion?
to authorize the parish president and drainage administration to negotiate with Iberville Parish on some type of agreement other than leaving the locks open. Is that good enough for you, Mr. Valentine? We have that motion by Mr. Valentine. We have a second by Mr. Shake
That's until the study comes in and we review.
And that motion is until we have the study from the on the Bayou Manchac Spanish Lake study from the Punch Train Levee District.
Okay.
Randy.
Okay, you want a motion to give administration authority to negotiate with Iberville Parish on an agreement,
Temporary agreement.
temporary? Okay. Until,
Until we have the results of the Spanish Lake Bayou Manchac study by the Punch Train Levee District.
okay.
We have a motion by Mr. Valentine. We have a second by Mr. Shake Snyder. And now we have discussion. Mr. Shake Snyder.
Yeah, Parish President, I know regardless of what happens, the little bayou in front of the area for Ms. Bonifay is going to have to be dredged out. Are we in the process of doing some of that now, and where are we at along there?
We're all hoping, we're paying Shaw and the Punch Train Levy, but we're just paying a lot of money to Shaw to come back with recommendations. They say they're going to have it ready by late summer or August, September, I would think
so
would be more realistic.
that's all part of that
Study, yes.
That study?
Yes, and at that point, you know, that's where we need to move, and we've put the $1.5 million in there in the event there's any cost sharing between the three parishes for that project. Now, I don't know what it's going to cost. You heard the other night on the Bayou Lafourche, it's very expensive with that machine that they have, but I don't know about a drag line, and I don't know how long.
What we did ask is we'd asked the administration and the director of drainage to look into that. Whether it be in one phase, two phases, look into that situation and just start getting some ballpark figures on what it's going to cost.
That's what I would ask, because I don't think there's any study that could be done now that wouldn't include digging that out a little bit, because that's siltation from the locks for a long time. And so if we can look into it and be prepared as soon as they come out with it, we can get started with something. Just don't want to waste any time.
Thank you. Any other comment?
It's also going to have to be a combination there with Iberville too, because we have to be dredging in their parish.
Yes, that's correct. Yes, indeed. That's what we feel like, that the Spanish Lake.
That's why we want to keep those channels open there, Parish President.
The Alligator Bayou is a multi-parish issue, and Bayou Manchac, add one more parish to it, possibly two. Any other discussion?
Chairman?
Yes, Mr. Bell.
Mr. President, help me understand. I mean, legally, Ascension Parish don't have a foot to stand on. Am I correct?
That's
as far as the locks.
As far as the jurisdiction of the opening and closing of the locks.
And that's the way I
understood it. It's entirely in Iberville Parish. It's entirely their call. We had an agreement years ago, I think. I know when I was in there the last time, we had an agreement to whereas Ascension Parish operated the locks. Now, there was another subsequent agreement, I think, done in 2002, which basically says that Iberville and Ascension are supposed to get together on a monthly basis, unless it's a hurricane or a emergency basis, and decide on how the locks are operated. That has not been changed. That plan is still in place. Mr. Rue, I don't know if you call Iberville weekly or monthly or whatever it calls for during the hurricane, but that's basically what the last thing I can find from a legal standpoint. But it does say in all paperwork that the jurisdiction lies in the hands of Iberville Parish.
And I agree with Councilman Valentine, everyone tonight. I'm just saying, right now it's a courtesy of Ascension Parish to Iberville to open when they say open, right?
It's not a courtesy. If they say open, they have the jurisdiction.
They could come open it themselves, is what I'm saying.
Right. Yeah.
I guess historically speaking is that we operated the locks.
We do have people that's close by. Their main parish government functions on the West Bank, kind of opposite of what ours here, where the majority of people live. So we have people that would be more people whose livelihood and property would be damaged in the event of a flood. So we've always had people that lived on the Ridge Road and in the vicinity that could get there quick and take care of it. And so it's always been an agreement between Ascension and Livingston that, not Livingston, Iberville, that we've always worked out. So again, that's where we're at today, and that's where I'm not an attorney. Maybe Ms. Falterman can give us a little more on that. Do you have any information on that? Not at this point, right? I don't want to put you in a bind. But basically, that's where we're at.
Yes, sir, I understand. I thank you, and good luck with your meeting.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, I'd just like to close with the fact that sometimes, some of these issues come up and they're hot topics, but you know what? Sometimes this gains resolution to a potential issue that's been going on for a long time. Not only with this, with other items. Right. And that's what we're charged at. That's the charge of this board.
But
to bring resolution and help the people. Yes, sir.
One more comment, and Pat's right, and Parish President said it. The liability is really on us, and that's one of the reasons why we operate the locks, because we really have more people at risk because of the Ridge Road that live. There are a lot of people that live on the Ridge Road, and that affects Spanish Lake and the Bluff Swamp together like that really affects that a lot. The frog locks are actually in Ascension Parish. We operate those, but those are much smaller. They need to be bigger. This whole scope was dealing with pilings, sheep pilings down on the side of the road, replacing both of those locks. It was a lot involved, and you guys are right. The first course of action would be to try and dredge Alligator Bayou. That would certainly enable us to keep the level low, and everybody, that would be a win-win for everybody. So if they could agree to that, that certainly would help. And Bill was on board early in this, before this came up, but let's face it, if you read the article, it has to do with mitigation banks, and so let's keep that in mind.
Yes, sir. Any other discussion? Mr. Rue?
Just to comment on the dredging, we are actively involved in getting estimates on the dredging of Bro Bayou and Alligator Bayou. We want to have that information so we can take it to Lake Pontchartrain and whomever, and Iberville Parish and other entities to secure funding for that, if in fact it's not included in the total the flood protection program that Lake Pontchartrain and Shaw is doing right now. So we are actively involved in getting those estimates.
Thank you.
Part of the Shaw study is to create an operational plan for the locks. So, you know, if we can get through this period, maybe we can work something out.
Thank you, gentlemen. Any other discussion? Any opposition? Motion passes. We'll move right along to item number 12. HMGP projects. We have some, Ms. Fleming.
Okay, we're requesting that the offer of $109,000 for 1607 acquisition home number 1 be rescinded because of a typographical error.
Motion.
We have a motion on the floor by Mr. Bell, second by Mr. Shake Snyder. Any discussion? This is a housekeeping item with a typographical error. Any other discussion? Any opposition? 12A passes.
We're now asking authorization to accept an offer of $109,772.75, which equals the amount of the appraisal of $152,000, less a duplication of benefits of $42,227.25.
So moved. Second.
Have a motion by Mr. Valentine, second by Mr. Todd Lambert. Any discussion? Another housekeeping item. Any opposition? Motion passes. Thank you, Ms. Fleming.
Thank you.
Move on to item number 13, resolution adopting ROW property acquisition procedure for approved drainage projects.
Yeah, we don't really have the resolution in front of us. We're asking for a motion, though, to accept the same procedure for use with drainage right-of-way acquisition once it's the ordinance is passed by the parish government. We all function in the same under the same rules.
We have a motion by Mr. Shake Snyder, second by Mr. Lohr. Any discussion? Any opposition? Motion passes. Move to item number 14, annual cooperative endeavor agreement, Ascension Parish Sheriff's Office and East Ascension Gravity Drainage District. Mr. Rue.
This is the annual contract approval that we're seeking for renewal of the contract. This is for the trustees. What we're asking for authorization to renew the contract between the Ascension Parish Sheriff.
Motion.
Second.
We have a motion. First was by Mr. Dempsey Lambert, second by Mr.
Second.
I'd like to add,
Mr. Cullen. Yes, please. I'm going to give you time, sir.
Well, we don't have an
You worked hard on this.
motion. I just need to add after legal review and approval to the official motion, because it haven't been through legal review yet.
After legal review. Got that, Madam Secretary?
Time for Mr. Todd now.
Any discussion? Any opposition? Motion passes. We'll move right on
Motion
to item number
adjourned.
15. We have a motion by Mr.
Second.
Todd Lambert and a second by Mr. Bell. Any opposition? I'm just getting started.